picture this. It's the middle of the night. The house is totally silent. And then, suddenly, a piercing scream just jolts you awake. If you're a parent, you know that sound. You know that feeling in your gut, and the 1,000 questions that fire off in your brain in less than a second. Right? Is it pain? Are they scared? Was it a nightmare? That sudden, really alarming cry can leave you feeling so worried and confused. So today, we're going to decode that midnight scream. We're going to figure out what is really going on in your baby's mind and body. And let's just start with a serious truth bomb from Healthline. The whole idea of sleeping like a baby peacefully through the night, yeah, it's pretty much a myth. The reality is, babies grunt, they squirm, and they wake up screaming. It's a completely universal challenge, and honestly, just understanding why it happens is the first step to getting through it. And here is the absolute key to all of this. The answer usually isn't about what's wrong with your baby. It's all about how your baby is fundamentally wired to sleep. And trust me, their world of sleep is dramatically different from ours. Okay, so it all starts with their sleep cycles. Our adult sleep cycles are pretty long, right? About 90 minutes, with lots of deep, restorative sleep. Well, a baby's cycle is only about 40 to 50 minutes long. Just think about that for a second. That means they have literally twice as many opportunities to wake up between cycles. Their sleep isn't just shorter, it's way lighter and much, much more fragmented. Now, a huge piece of this puzzle is something called active sleep. You can think of it as the baby version of REM sleep, and newborns spend half their entire night in this state. It's this period of incredibly intense brain development. Their mind is literally building connections, building itself. So all those little twitches, the grunts, the sudden jerks, even brief little cries, that's often just their brain doing a major workout, not a sign that anything is wrong. So how in the world can you tell the difference between active sleep and them actually waking up? Well, you gotta look for the clues. In active sleep, their eyes are still closed, but you might see them fluttering. The movements are kind of random and jerky. But if they're truly awake, their eyes will be wide open and focused, and that cry is going to be continuous until you come help. The real pro tip here? Just pause. Wait a minute before you rush in. You might be totally surprised to see them settle right back down on their own. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's say you've waited that minute and, yep, they are definitely awake and screaming. This is where we use our first tool, the physical checklist. That cry is their only way of communicating, and it's usually signaling a basic, fixable need. Here is your 3 a.m. mental scan. You want to start with the most obvious stuff. Hunger, especially for a tiny baby under 4 months, is always the #1 suspect. Then you know the drill. Check for a wet diaper or maybe some gas pain. Is the room too hot or too cold? And always do a quick check for hidden things. I know it sounds weird, but a single hair wrapped tightly around a toe, called a hair tourniquet, can cause really intense pain. Same with a scratchy tag. Now, gas and reflux are two major sleep thieves, and they look pretty different. Gas pain often causes a very sudden, high-pitched scream, and you might see them pulling their little legs up to their belly. Reflux, on the other hand, is usually more about a general fussiness and frequent waking, especially right after a feed when lying down is just plain uncomfortable for them. Okay, so you've checked all the physical boxes. Diaper's clean, tummy's full, but the crying continues. What now? Well, the next layer of our decoder is all about development. See, sometimes these sleep disruptions aren't actually a problem you need to solve. They're a sign that your baby's brain is hitting a major, exciting milestone. And that brings us to the infamous sleep regression roadmap. Oh yes, these are predictable times when your perfect little sleeper suddenly isn't. The 4-month one is a biggie because their sleep cycles are maturing for good. Then, around 8 to 10 months, their brains are so jazzed about learning to crawl and pull up that they literally want to practice. Yep, even at 2 a.m. in the crib. Just knowing these are predictable phases can make them feel a whole lot less frustrating. And this leads us to a huge one, separation anxiety. Right around the 9-month mark, your baby's brain makes this massive cognitive leap. They finally understand that you still exist even when they can't see you. So when they wake up alone in a dark, quiet room, it can trigger genuine panic. This isn't them trying to manipulate you. They are literally calling out for safety and reassurance because their world just got a lot bigger and, frankly, a little bit scarier. Here's another key concept, which we can call the same conditions trap. Think about it. If your baby needs to be rocked or fed or held to fall asleep at bedtime, they will most likely need those exact same conditions to fall back asleep
every single time they naturally stir between those short sleep cycles. So when they wake up and those comforting arms or that bottle aren't there, they sound the alarm.
But what if the scream sounds different? What if it sounds truly full of fear? A lot of parents immediately think nightmare. But it is so important to be able to distinguish between nightmares and a totally different thing called night terrors, because how you should respond is completely different. So let's break this down. Here is the single most important difference. It's all about consciousness. A child having a nightmare is awake. They're scared, but they're with you. A child having a night terror is actually still fast asleep. Even if their eyes are wide open and they're screaming, they are not aware of what's happening at all. This table really makes it clear. First, check the clock. Night terrors usually happen in the first few hours of sleep, when they're in that super deep sleep stage. Nightmares tend to happen much later, in the early morning during dream sleep. And look at recognition. During a nightmare, your child knows it's you and they want your comfort. But during a night terror, they might look right through you or even push you away, which I know can be so upsetting to see. So, your response plan has to be totally different for each. For a nightmare, it's simple. You go in, you comfort them, you reassure them. But for a night terror, your job is to stay calm and just be a quiet presence. And this is crucial. Do not try to wake them up. It'll just make them more agitated. Your only job is to make sure they're safe and can't hurt themselves. They're completely asleep and won't remember a thing in the morning. Whew, okay. We have covered a lot of ground, right? From sleep cycles to gas pains to huge developmental leaps. So let's just pull back for a second and put this all into perspective, and hopefully shift from that initial jolt of panic to a real sense of empowered understanding. First things first, and this is the most important thing, always trust your instincts. While most of these night wakings are perfectly normal, there are definitely some clear red flags. If you see any signs of labored breathing, if an infant under 3 months old has a fever, or if the crying is just truly persistent and you cannot console them no matter what, it's always the right call to get a professional opinion. And this really brings us to our final and most crucial takeaway. I absolutely love this quote because it reframes everything we've talked about. That scream you hear in the middle of the night, it's not usually a sign of failure or that you're doing something wrong. It is a temporary, normal sign of a healthy, growing brain and body just learning how to navigate this brand new world. It's literally the sound of development. So the next time you're woken up by that midnight scream, just take a breath. Instead of just hearing noise and feeling panic, you can now actually listen for clues. Is that the short, jerky cry of active sleep? Is it the urgent cry of hunger? Or is it that confused cry of a baby who just realized you're not there? See, you're no longer just a tired parent running on fumes. You're a decoder. And honestly, that changes everything.